check the status of streaming. Everything's connected. Wow, that was super fast. We are uploading. We just tilt your camera down a little bit, Vlad.
Not really. It's
I
problematic.
mean, I have a
as
trick
usual.
where I can hack that in post, but
It's like either very down or not enough down.
yeah,
Like this is probably
that's a
the
little
best.
better. That's fine. I can fix that. Yeah. Okay. Let's do it. Oh, let me mute my phone.
Oh yeah, actually, mute my phone is probably a good idea as well.
Phasers on stun. Alrighty. Here we go.
Why not lethal?
All right. This week, we'll cover the August InfraTrust Pulse, old Linux vulnerabilities that are new again, patching your unified devices, hacking speed cameras, and AI is looking for obfuscation. Stay tuned. Below the Surface, coming up next. Welcome to this edition of Below the Surface. It's episode number 81, being recorded on August 27th, 2026. I'm Paul Sidorian, joined by my co-worker, Mr. Vlad Babkin. Vlad, welcome.
Hello, welcome and hello.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. Quick announcement before we get started. I got a new brandy, shiny new little read here for the top of the show. Below the Surface listeners can learn more about Eclipsium and how we help organizations assure and secure the infrastructure their operations depend on by visiting eclipsium.com/go. You'll find our guide to AI data center security, our white paper on eradicating hidden threats in network edge devices, and a case study showing how a major cloud provider used Eclipsium to protect its infrastructure hardware during a merger IT consolidation. You can also request a demo and see how Eclipsium verifies device integrity, hardens against risk, and detects active exploits across enterprise infrastructure from AI data center to network edge to user endpoints. All that and more, eclipsium.com/go. Outstanding. Speaking of all things Eclipsium, we have the latest InfraTrust Pulse, as we call it. So the InfraTrust website was a collaborative effort. Vlad is, of course, the developer behind the InfraTrust website, which lets you search through now an expanding date range, an expanded coverage of hardware, software, firmware, infrastructure related advisories. So make sure you check out that website. It is completely free. There is no registration required. Vlad, if someone were to want to query that data, perhaps via an API, I don't think we limit or necessarily discourage that. It's kind of there if you want to find it. I have had two listeners ask if they, can I use the API that's there? Is there another API where I can consume the data? So
in reality, it does have an API, but we are not publishing it currently. So there is no guarantee on stability of this. Obviously, if you go ahead and reverse engineer what our website does, I cannot stop you.
Right.
And there is not enough data for me to be able to make any reasonable anti-bot protection without actually requiring everybody before they enter the website to solve CAPTCHA.
Yes.
Not
Yes.
super useful. So
my advice to the audience in these situations, Vlad, is always hey, just be nice. Give us a heads up. Be nice is always kind of the right thing to do. If you have any questions, reach out to us. I don't want to discourage people from using the data because I mean it means people find it useful, and we do too. So I think it's good.
Yeah, and in this case, Paul, we probably have to raise internally the question of making an API available at some point.
Yes.
So that it's not some kind of hacky thing.
Right.
But,
So stay tuned. Maybe we'll have more on that front. So this month's Pulse, so we did a 30-day snapshot, which makes it difficult. When I write about it, I can't say, this month or in August because our date range is from July. I believe it was July 18th through August 24th was our date range that we covered. And it's interesting. There was 118 new advisories across 12 different vendors covering 1,051 CVEs for that 4-week period, which is it's interesting. I think I want to do a little more of a data study to kind of, and just as kind of like an FYI, are we seeing more advisories per month, less advisories per month? Is it completely random? Excuse me. So I think that's, interesting if we can show some trends. I'm thinking more towards the end of the year is when we might want to, do some trending and analysis. I don't think even looking at 6 months gives us enough, data to kind of pull those kind of trends. And I think the trend is obvious, right? Like we were talking about it before we started recording, Vlad. Like organizations, enterprises, vendors, and threat actors and security researchers are all using AI to help find new vulnerabilities that are resulting in more patches, right? And that could be Mythos, that could be vendors' own models, like Cisco has Antares, Microsoft has their model, and it's. I think we're at the point where it's not anything truly exciting and new anymore. We're just knowing that this trend will continue, and we're going to use AI to find vulnerabilities. And I think that's going to keep these counts in the InfoTrust Pulse pretty high. This month's highlight was going after the management plane, which I believe is, we've seen a trend. We've seen numerous vulnerabilities, exploits, and threat actors actually using this tradecraft to compromise the management layer. So Cisco's Firewall Management Center, or FMC. This month we had Arista's Velo Cloud Orchestrator. We've certainly seen in the past the FortiGate Manager? FortiGate Manager? Whatever Fortinet's equivalent of FMC is. We've talked about on the show before, right? Like basically, if you've got hundreds or thousands of these devices deployed in your enterprise, you need some way to manage all of those, and the vendors make these management software that's typically bundled as an appliance. So you can buy a physical appliance, you can put it on a virtual. Some of them may even be software you install on an OS you control, but I think for the big ones, Cisco and Fortinet, it's delivered as an appliance. And that appliance, of course, has vulnerabilities. You can't harden the OS underneath them. That's the job of the vendor. So they end up being exploited by attackers, which is interesting. I think that we say that network edge appliances are a target today in a large part of our challenge that we're dealing with in cybersecurity today. And while that's true, don't forget your management platforms or your orchestrators. That is the other software and platforms you will deploy to manage your network edge devices. Those are certainly in scope for attackers in this month. Also talked about Aruba's SD-WAN orchestrator, Checkpoint Smart Console, all of which landed on the Kev is actively exploited. So I like to ground us in truth. Oftentimes, I think there's stuff that's being actively exploited deserves our attention. I also appreciate, our focus here at Eclipsium 2, where we're looking at what might be coming next. What is a ripe attack surface? We've got some AI infrastructure vulnerabilities we talked about this month. And certainly, that's a ripe attack surface as well. That may be academic, theoretical. We can prove that these vulnerabilities and exposures exist, but we haven't quite yet observed it being used in the wild. Now, one can say, well, attackers just don't need to go there, right?
This problem will fix itself, don't worry.
Yeah. And I think some of it could also be, Vlad, that we're just not looking in some of these places. We don't have the visibility to observe attacks. I was looking at Rowhammer and speculative execution vulnerabilities and GPU vulnerabilities. And there's lots of research in TPM, right? Lots of research in these areas. I can't find any hard evidence of threat actors abusing it, but still something we have to pay attention to.
There is a very big question about threat actors abusing some of this. Like, for example, if you think about again, vulnerabilities that I found in BMCs, there are a lot of exposed BMCs live on the internet, but
just over 80,000. 80,000 is the number today via different protocols, right?
But if you think about what BMCs are exposed in private network, it's literally millions. And let's say that you're an APT group, like you really want to persist in the data centers that you just broke in. You are gonna go for them, and nobody's gonna see that you're exploiting them besides the said data center. And because of how vendors are about observability of these devices, data center itself probably does not know this much about them being exploited. So
Right.
like making some kind of like a hidden spot for like beachhead for the attacker in there, you get my point.
Yeah,
So
and it's also
and
interesting to think about. We were doing a little bit of work on BMCs this week, some investigations I'll call them, and I think it's interesting to think about from a threat perspective. If an attacker gains a foothold on your host operating system, there are facilities where they can interface via a BMC. In fact, our own product uses some of those facilities to help enumerate that for our customers. And my fear is, what if attackers figure out that a BMC is a great place to hide, and they jump from host into BMC?
Yep, and they can sit there for a long time. And like,
Yeah.
again, second point is that your network hardware, like, okay, to give an example, like Huawei, not Huawei, what was it? Hikvision, yeah.
Yeah.
Hikvision cameras, right? They are very popular in a lot of parts of the world. And important point about them is that they don't expose you any OS level interface. So if an attacker goes to code execution on those, like a 0-day, for example, or older known vulnerabilities for them, and sits on one of those cameras, he can sit there for a long time, and you will not know. You will not observe him. You will not have any tools to have visibility into the device. And like, you have some diagnostic dump, but a clever attacker can see what's in diagnostic dump and like hide from it. And good luck detecting the attacker now, right? And there's absolutely nothing anyone can do about this. And besides forensic analysis and very tight monitoring of network traffic, you cannot really do anything. And like with some of these threats, monitoring network traffic is not enough either, because like for example, some of these implants can sit for years untouched and not beaconing anywhere, but suddenly an attacker can use them later down the line, like by a local attack. Like they break in, they ping the implant on the local network, and suddenly, surprise, right? So there can be some trigger conditions which prevent your network monitoring from detecting those. Or for example, there is an implant variant for BMC that we did because like one of our customers came to us with exact statement like, yeah, we have very tight network monitoring and you cannot do stuff about it. So we told them hold our beer and made an implant that puts BMC into permanent shutdown mode. Like in fact the BMC from like local network, for example, like you compromised, for example, admin laptop and you have an automated malware which goes into local network. So not a hard to imagine thing, right? And suddenly all of your BMCs are infected and you coordinate on the implant level a specific date at which the entire data center just goes down.
Yes.
No network traffic involved. So some of these attacks, depending on what attacker wants, can be like very deadly without ever beaking into attacker infrastructure.
Yep.
So time and time again, I'm gonna keep repeating, unless vendors start cooperating, especially vendors for like critical hardware like BMCs, like network appliances, this issue is not gonna go away. It's only gonna get worse and worse and worse. And one of our next topics, by the way, links to this exact point. So
yeah, 100%. We also saw a Fortinet fix for attacker persistence. This is the classic symlink vulnerability. And what I think is interesting here is it's something that the vendor fixed, but didn't catch all of the variations. And so just putting a double slash in your symlink evades the vendor's patch and still allows them to create a symlink to persist software or malicious software across firmware updates for Fortinet devices. This one is on the Kev, and it's a classic persistence mechanism in Fortinet. We now have some detections for that as well, and it's something that I highlight in a lot of the pulses, right? That you can do your due diligence, patch everything, but if an attacker already has something implanted on the device and has that persistence mechanism, a la via this vulnerability that now has to be fixed twice, your job is not done. and it stays right in the pulse, right? Like you need to patch your stuff, but then you also need to do incident response and forensics investigations to make sure that your device is still clean, that it wasn't compromised previously. Now it's harder because you're on the latest version, sure, but you got to do a retrospective and look back and go, is this already owned?
The whole point is that like the question, is this already owned, is really hard. Like, making a forensic investigation on one of these closed platforms is insanely hard. Like, Fortinet allows you some kind of custom interface for listing the files.
What is it?
FNCTL?
FNCTL?
FNCTL or something like this. It gives you some commands. But because of how this interface is structured, you cannot just ask it for a tree of all files, or give me all of symlinks, or use some advanced find commands.
Yeah.
No. You have to do it through ls and go folder by folder.
Folder by folder. Yep. And that's what we're doing. And that's why we kind of struggled with some of these detections, is because it's not really Linux. So we can't use tried and true Linux or even Unix, right? Going back to tradecraft, because forensics on these systems is not, it's not anything really new, right? Like we've been using Linux for how many, 20 plus years.
Yeah.
What I'd look for 20 plus years ago, what I look for today, a lot of that stuff is still the same, right?
Yup, and the stupid part is, it is Linux, but you get only like a stupidly small window into it, which is like, it almost feels like it's designed to prevent you from visibility into the attacks against this device.
Right, because the attackers are exploiting an RC. In fact, we saw someone build a ROP chain with a remote exploit for an older Fortinet vulnerability and publish that to GitHub this week as well. I don't think that made it, that didn't necessarily make it into the report, but something we observed, and it was kind of interesting.
Yup, and it will only get worse from here, guys. It's not gonna get any better anytime soon. It will probably get worse for years to come.
Yeah.
So, vendors, message for you all. It's not just like, as I love to say, FortiGate is today's unlucky guy of the day.
Yeah.
It's like all of you. Stop doing this stuff with lockdown platforms. Start cooperating. Eventually it will lead to initial influx of vulnerabilities. But at the very least, this influx will eventually stop because most stupid stuff and less stupid stuff will get fixed. But like with how stingy you are, and I'm not speaking just about FortiOS, again,
it's pretty much all of them.
Get worse.
Yeah.
Because dedicated attackers will disassemble your system, will get access to a full shell, whether you like it or not, and will investigate the system in depth, and will find surprising places. And your customers are the ones who are gonna get hit.
Yeah.
It's getting very dicey. AI models are getting really good at exploiting this stuff.
Yep.
It doesn't cost tens of thousands of dollars anymore. It costs $200 and 1 day of running the model.
Yep. And it's interesting too that not only we don't get a lot of visibility, but we don't get a way to verify and validate the way that we should be. I work in my air quotes spare time. I work on an open source tool called Fettle that helps you apply patches to your systems and overall just see if your system is in good working order. And I've just been slowly adding features to it to give me visibility into my own Linux systems, right? If other people want to use it, great. It's a classic open source. I wrote this tool for Paul to monitor my systems. If it helps you, great. It's fully open source, MIT licensed. It's out there. And one of the items I'm looking into this week is AppArmor and SE Linux. And even if those were configured and installed on these platforms that run Linux under the covers that represent our network edge, you need some kind of visibility into them, right? You in AppArmor, you need to know that there's a profile for an application, what configuration state it's in, and whether or not an application protected by AppArmor has tried to violate one of the rules, access files or other things it typically isn't supposed to. So even if the vendors are configuring these security controls within Linux or Linux primitives that allow you to enact control, we as the users need a way to validate and verify and observe these controls. And that's often what's missing from these platforms, Vlad, right? Is we don't have much in
it's
the
not
way of visibility. We get some logs maybe, but
it's not even up armor. To get any kind of visibility, what you need, I will state this plain and clear. You need root access, unrestricted, for every command that exists. Because like,
yep.
okay, you give visibility into up armor. Suddenly a vulnerability appears which bypasses up armor, and
Sure.
like your visibility means nothing. You get visibility into a log file, great, attacker will just clean it up because attacker has unrestricted RCE. And probably
eBPF is the same problem with eBPF.
Yep.
You can you can look at
Yep.
eBPF and get telemetry back, but if an attacker already has root access and access to the kernel, they can just tell eBPF to lie to you and say, like, there's no one here. What are you talking about? So it makes detection super hard.
Yep. The only reasonable solution is to get root access to your shell. And again, it's not destructive to your business. And I will give you examples. F5 provides bash access as root to their devices. Cisco's, quite a few of them provide a root with bash access. Arista's, as far as I remember, Arista EOS provides root with bash access. None of these guys are out of business. But like, we get visibility into them, we get to run our tools. It's not only us. We also have a CrowdStrike guys who actually partnered with F5, I believe, to run their sensor on the devices as well. So it's not just helping us, it's literally helping the whole community. Even though it might sound scary to you, and suddenly a lot of stuff will get exposed, especially as researchers flux. You have an influx of researchers who suddenly get access to this. Sure, this initial potential reputation loss is still better than long-term effects of AI on your systems.
Right. You know, Ubiquiti is an interesting example there, and we did see about, I think it was yesterday, they published about 11 or 12 different, or maybe 22. It was a pretty high number of pretty critical vulnerabilities. They don't give you much in the way of insights into those vulnerabilities. To Ubiquiti's credit, who I believe is trying to break into the enterprise, which is one reason why I mention it here. I think there is a huge push to get Ubiquiti into the enterprise. That Ubiquiti's platform is open. They have a shell. It's Debian Linux. You can get a shell on it. They also have I think it's a really great updater. So yesterday I read these advisories and they seemed pretty bad. Like, if one of them looked like if you were inspecting traffic, that an attacker could inject something into that inspection and get a root shell on your device. Well, that's bad. We didn't get a lot of details. So kind of hard to build something that detects these, something that determines if your machine is compromised, maybe. But they just said, look, you need to patch. And so I went to my Ubiquiti device and I was like, yeah, upgrade it. There was no hiccups. There was no downtime. I clicked around in the interface longer than I probably should have because it's not the most user-friendly interface. No shade on Ubiquiti, like building an interface that is truly usable is super hard. But I figured it out and clicked the button and I was updated. And I'm like, well, that's awesome. And if I hadn't done that overnight last night, it would have updated on its own. So I don't want to, I'm not in the business of throwing shade on this podcast necessarily, but I will give credit where credit is due. That process worked out well for me. I think it could be valuable to an enterprise. It's like, look, no one's going to make a solution that doesn't have vulnerabilities. But I think the key differentiator is how you handle them, how you address them, how you roll out fixes, and how easy are you making it for your customers to remediate those vulnerabilities. In Ubiquiti, at least in my case, again, I'm one firewall, one user, not an enterprise, but in my experience, it was a good experience.
I will give two more examples. One example is HPE Comware. If you look at V7 and V9, key differentiator in V9, Comware enabled bash access for the device. So you actually get a bash shell. And again, another vendor in enterprise space managed to open their network switches to be open to bash, and this allows us visibility into them. Who would have guessed, right? And another example is, besides the differentiators you listed, Paul, I will add another one. How well is your API architected? Like, for example, if you have an HTTP API, make sure you use a safe technology. Like, it's not Like if you use Python, and I've seen devices use Python scripting languages, it's like not a surprise anymore because devices have a lot of like firepower. Use Fast API instead of like Flask, because
Yeah.
Fast API provides you very strong validation. You will not have a surprise method hidden somewhere. All of them will be documented, and it will be easier for you yourself to review yourself. Your developers will develop at higher velocity. It's like literally has no downsides, and there are technologies like this which are in use in the enterprise for a while. For example, gRPC for internal APIs if you have services communicating with one another. Like it's not a new technology. It allows you to make like a HTTP API without vulnerabilities, or like with a lot less vulnerabilities
Yeah.
anyways.
And that
Because
API can
suddenly
be
you
powerful too for inspecting the device, configuration checking, performing
Yep.
operations that allow you to pull back artifacts that can be used for detection of configuration, of
Yep.
threats, whatever.
Yep. And even if you don't give us visibility through this API, if you make this API for the customer, it's gonna save you a lot of headache. So my recommendation is to like switch development approach to a point where like, okay, don't ship your CLI as a black box C++ binary.
Yeah.
At least make the CLI Golang based. Like make it Rust based. Make it a language where you at least cannot get a memory safety bug. And like, yeah, it will not prevent all of them. It will prevent at least some of them. And like, again, I'm not proposing you write your entire platform, but at the very least, stuff that's attacker facing, like outside facing, sure, do it.
Yeah.
Like it's not that complicated, especially with modern AI. Like
Yeah. I had to.
again, Ban read itself into like from Zig to Rust, I believe. So it was like, and they read themselves in like one go, and that's like a lot of lines of code, a lot more than your CLI binary has, most likely.
Yeah, we were talking about AI being used by threat actors, and Talos Intelligence had a post. This was a Windows and Linux campaign targeting both platforms that I keyed in on because I don't think the threat actors using AI is the headline here. I think the headline is when they did use AI to create an automated, basically pen testing framework using a lot of off the shelf tools, even Metasploit, and just used AI to string them together. They were able to exploit 16-year-old local privilege escalation vulnerabilities going back to I don't even remember what the reliable datagram sockets kernel bug was because it's from 2010. It's literally a 2010
Like
CVE.
this is old news. Like open up latest news. Like, and by the way, this is a small slide into the next topics that we have.
Yeah.
Like if you look at like threat actors using AI and also non-threat actors using AI, there were guys who got access to latest GPT 5.6 cyber, and they ran a, oh hey, here is a VM, escape it. And like, okay, first iteration, it found a bunch of known CVs in like not latest Debian. Great. The second iteration was, okay, all packages are latest, but the channels they're using still had vulnerabilities.
Yep.
AI exploited them within an hour. Next iteration, they cut down features and literally disabled the packages, installed like latest upstream everything, and it found 0 days. Literally. So like, and it took AI like 1 day to find them and exploit them.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just making the attacker's job easier if you're not patching your stuff. I mean, this system, I don't know how well you recognize these, but Baron Samdeet, and Dirty Pipe. Now, the Baron Cement, I don't remember how to pronounce it, and I don't remember the reference exactly, but I do know it was a vulnerability found by Qualys researchers, and I interviewed the researchers years ago because this came out in 2021. And it was a local privilege escalation vulnerability. I want to say it might have been Sudo or one of those ones. They found a string of them. Dirty Pipe, right, was another one from 2022. These are old. These work. And it's just astonishing that you weren't even patching. This isn't even recent stuff that wasn't patched. This is older stuff. More than 10-year-old vulnerabilities that haven't been patched.
Yep. So this only emphasizes how important it is to actually like give some openness to researchers, because like Chinese attacker, or like, okay, not to bash a single country, but like pick your evil opponent country, like it can be whatever country you want, right? They will have funds, so like they are ready to pour millions into this stuff, and they will buy your device, they will dissect it, they will put an AI against it, and they will run it for weeks. It takes AI a day to find this stuff. Okay, this is frontier AI in US labs, and we think that Chinese labs are behind. Okay, it will not take them a day, it will take them a week. It doesn't really matter. A week for these guys is not a lot. Like, they're ready to run this attack for like maybe months.
And they can do all that, but the attackers lately seem to lack OPSEC. This is probably the third or fourth case I've seen recently of the way we discovered all this information about their toolkits is because they left their own C2 server hanging on the internet with open directory listing turned on. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, the vector is exactly the same. We've seen this. We've seen stuff land in our own honeypot and traced it back to a directory listing on a C2 server that has all their tradecraft, and it just keeps happening. And the OPSEC is totally poor.
Paul, I will stop you there a little bit. These are script kiddie attackers. If you speak about large APT groups,
they're not making this mistake.
Yeah, they're not making this mistake. And what we know are the worst groups. Actual frontier groups doing this stuff.
Right.
Like, we got one of the first attackers, like Cisco Talos claims that they found one of the Chinese-speaking adversary integrates agentic AI into post-compromise operation. That was their headliner.
Yeah.
And the important point about this, it's like one of the attackers we know did this, but I guarantee you that APT groups are doing this for much longer than last week. They're probably doing this since like agentic AI became a thing. Like, if developers are developing their tools with this. Like, for example, in Eclipse we are using AI for like a year, right? Since it became like more or less usable for development, we have been using it. I guarantee you that APT groups are doing the same exact thing. Like, give or take, like, oh hey, we can only use open weight models and we cannot really use open AI. So until open weight models caught up with like what they can do, but if you look at latest Qwen, it's like, per reports that I have seen, it's like Opus level.
Yeah,
Opus models are good enough.
It is. It's slower.
I mean, do development.
I'm running Qwen 3.8 on a slower system, so it's much slower than it could be. Mostly because I don't have 10, 20 grand to spend on a appropriate, which is what it costs now, which shouldn't cost that much, but it does. And it is a fairly capable model. I did some limited testing this week.
So again, advanced groups have budget. Like, buying a $40,000 card, even for Chinese guys for whom this card is restricted, considering we only want like a few of them.
Right.
And like, okay, let's say they have a few racks. Buying a few racks of them through like shady channels is probably doable, even though there are restrictions. But when you don't buy a massive amount of them for data center,
right,
you can probably sneak a few in. And like, consider that they have latest NVIDIA hardware. They can run these models at full speed.
Yeah.
And like, for them, it's not a problem.
And I fully expect we're going to see the case where if they don't have the hardware themselves, they're going to either rent it legitimately or illegitimately because they're threat actors. So if they break into a system that is capable to run the model, what stops them from just running the model on it? I mean, other than eventually get detected, but we've seen that throughout cybersecurity history, right? Attackers will take over infrastructure just to use that infrastructure, not necessarily for extortion, ransomware, or whatever.
Yep. And like, again, I'll raise a hand. We have BMC vulnerabilities, which allow exactly this type of takeover.
Right. You also had an article in here, Vlad, about VM escapes, and it was I believe an AI harness that discovered vulnerabilities in Linux KVMs and the like.
Yep, I pretty much just told about this. Like, how it found literal 0 days. Yeah, it exploited known vulnerabilities. It exploited them twice, even though like the guy thought that he patched completely, he didn't. And then it found 0 days when it was like literally, like when it was cornered and it had to pretty much just find 0 days in whatever the hell was left. It still managed to find them. So don't expect your infrastructure to be secure. And again, I will underscore this for every single company running HTTP servers. It's like not just hardware, it's literally all of you guys. You have to write your software in a secure way. Like, this is a topic we discuss in Eclipse like almost non-stop. How do we not make this mistake? How do we make sure that our services don't allow some very, very easy validation bypass? Like, because beyond that, once attacker bypasses your, like, before it was like, okay, attacker got code execution, and then attacker has to escape containers, attacker has to raise privileges, it will take him hours, days, weeks of investment, and probably nobody's gonna do that. Now it's like hours, tops, to go from zero to root to escape sandbox, right? It's because like initial research into the vulnerabilities, again, statistics from CTFs, I cannot quote articles directly because I don't have them at the top of my mind, but like once advanced AI capabilities started coming out, CTF players managed to automate a lot of like local privilege escalations very quickly. Like complexity of like tasks from like, okay, you got code execution and then you have to privilege escalate. Well, the second part became almost completely like very fast. The first part is still hard because like AI does not really get a lot of data to work with. It works against the black box service. But when you achieve code execution, it's literally hours before they escape the sandbox, in one way or another.
Right. Yeah, and Quarks Labs did an investigation as well that looked at LLM-assisted reverse engineering and obfuscation. And I believe what they did was they obfuscated some binaries and put specific strings and then tasked LLMs to go find these strings. The hilarious thing about this story is that basically all the LLMs cheated. They found in the documentation what those strings were, and they're like, oh, hey, I found it. And even the LLM self-admitted, like, I kind of cheated. Like, that really wasn't what you're after, was it? Like, they kind of knew, like, what the intention was and knew that they cheated and disclosed that they cheated. And still an interesting experiment, nonetheless.
Yeah, LLM are cheating. Like, I love the... What was the channel? I believe Low Level is the YouTube channel name.
Yeah,
it
yeah, it's a good one. Yep.
When like I completely died on his video when he was doing like overview of like Hugging Face incident. Like, hey, why the hell nobody monitored this model? Like the model, like when you open Claude, it has this reasoning trace, and like why the hell nobody was looking at like, oh hey, I'm very deep into Hugging Face infrastructure. I'm about to exfiltrate data from Hugging Face infrastructure. How the hell was this unnoticed for 3 days?
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
Even frontier labs have OPSEC issues. So don't think that you're above OPSEC issues. You need to have technical security steps in your products which prevent this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wouldn't say binary obfuscation is dead because of AI. I think AI will eventually catch up. But I did appreciate the experiment in Quarks Lab, describing their tests and what they did. And there's been several good articles where AI didn't give the perfect answer, but people are still writing it up and sharing what they found. Like, hey, we used AI to accomplish this task. Here's what it did good. Here's where, we need some work. So
the bigger question is not how to run AI for discovery. We already see articles about it. The hard question that industry is asking, and there is no response to this, is how do you use AI to develop better software? This is the actual hard question. Like, the companies all rushed to wipe coding and then rushed back, and it is really visible in the market. Like, that the promise was not fulfilled. So now the question that like we are trying to answer as well is how do we incorporate AI in a way which doesn't reduce quality of our software? And again, I will be one of the guys who is gonna be, oh hey, somebody announced on Twitter that they developed a software with AI, and like within a day they're, why are you hacking me? Why are you hacking me? Well, I'm gonna sit on this seat exactly. Infratrust.org website was developed fully using AI.
Yeah. So is Fettle. So is my open source tool Fettle.
Yeah, so like if you guys really want a challenge, like go ahead and poke Infratrust. If you find the vulnerability, come back to us and tell us.
Yeah.
Because this will be interesting, because this can lead us to like, what I'm thinking is maybe publishing something about this topic as well.
Yeah.
Like, how do we incorporate AI? Like right now I'm not.
But you've got some good skills. By skills I mean actual skills for like Claude that help us develop better quality software more securely. So I think you need that if you're relying on AI to do that. You do have to tune the context and direct it so that it increases your chances. It will create reliable and more secure software.
Yeah.
And that's one
Yeah,
thing,
and
right?
you also like, yeah. At some point, we probably need to make an article about this. So I'm not gonna dive too deep into this because
Yeah.
if I do, we need to make a 3-hour episode at least. So because we
Yeah,
have
and
a
there's
lot of
also
stuff
the
already
Q
stuck
and
into
a
this.
lot of that. So that's one thing. The second thing is you got to have a good test harness, right? And you can't necessarily trust AI to build your test harness 100%. You have to do some testing on your own. And the other thing that I do with my code bases is I'll get another model. Like let's say I'm using Opus to develop it. I'll use another
You'll get
model.
another model to criticize.
Yeah, and I'll say go review this code for security, regular bugs, performance, whatever, and then I'll take the result of that report and I'll funnel it through Opus, and it'll validate and fix things. And I've done that with Fettle. I ran it through Antares, and I've run it through one of the Codex models, 5.6 or whatever the OpenAI model was best suited for that. And it found bugs, and then I used Opus to fix them. And I think as long as you're iterating on that, right, that increases your chances of not introducing bugs or especially security vulnerabilities.
Yeah, and like another interesting point is like use standards. Like there is agents.md standard. Like and like at some point, again, Paul notes this down. We probably have to discuss it with engineering and with Ariella. We probably want some kind of article about this.
Yeah.
Like how do
agreed.
you write agentsmd in such a way that it's actually useful? Maybe publish one of our internal examples. And like, if you combine this and a GitLab pipeline or GitHub like actions, whatever floats your boat, there is also Jenkins, doesn't really matter. The whole point is AI, in my case, it has full visibility into every single test I will run.
Yeah.
Like I'm not hiding anything from AI at all. Like AI sees the full pipeline configuration for testing. AI sees like literally everything, and like, yeah, it can cheat. It knows I review the code, so like if it cheats, I'll probably go ahead and ask it to fix it. So like I'm not exactly worried about it cheating.
Yep.
But the whole point is because AI knows the exact tests, AI can run it himself and find issues with the code by itself.
Yep. That's what I do for Fettle. Like, I've got about 5 virtual machines, 4 or 5 of different Linux distributions. And when I tell it to do a full QA run, it'll actually run my software on each of those VMs and observe the results and identify and fix bugs through that QA run. Now, I also run the tool myself to update my systems, and I will discover bugs or features that are just not the way that they should be in different things, and then I'll funnel that back in as well. So it's a twofold process. There's automated QA testing, but there's also manual QA testing.
Yep, there is manual QA, and like if you do automated QA and you have a pipeline, sure as hell run tools like I don't know, if you use Python, run PyLint. If you use Golang, there is like Golang linter. Like use a linter for your language, use unit tests for your language, do coverage reports, get AI to make full coverage, like specifically ask AI to cover every single line, because now AI has to call every single line, and if it made a bug, it will detect it, right? So yeah, it is not perfect. Like we find bugs in 100% unit test covered code.
Oh,
you are not gonna, it's not a golden bullet by any means, but like chances of you having a bug with AI coding just progressively go down and down and down with every single verification step.
Yeah. And I think the last piece of advice there would be to make sure that you're having the conversation and doing the research about which technologies, to kind of go back to your Flask versus Fast API. That's some of the most important architecture decisions that, yeah, you can use AI to make them, but you as a human need to do research on your own. I've told it which containers to use. I've told it which web technologies to use. And I asked it for pros and cons of each. This technology, like how popular is it on GitHub? We're using a technology because I put forth some requirements and you found this esoteric thing that really hasn't been battle tested. No, I don't want to use that. So I think that's some of the other advice if most of us are using AI in some capacity in our development. So. Oh, traffic cameras. This was Slovakia's National Security Authority issuing a warning
Oh,
that Nero R1 units, or one of them, I believe, contained. So their analysis found hardware and software's real origin was unclear, communication settings that didn't match the documentation, and pre-configured remote access mechanisms the operator couldn't fully control. Now, that last one is a fancy language way of saying it's a backdoor built into them. And it's not the first time we've seen backdoors in firmware-based devices. Vulncheck, actually, I should have put the article in here, did an addendum to their Endless Doors campaign as well, finding similar issues and similar backdoors and similar supply chain issues in a whole bunch of routers. Found the backdoor was exposed to the internet. Now, the Vulncheck research is talking about hundreds of devices that contain it. So not too widespread, although my question based on their research is what other devices that are kind of like branded from Chinese manufacturers, right? As we know, Chinese manufacturers will create multiple different brands based on the same hardware and firmware stack, and there could be others. The speed cameras are especially troublesome for me because it's a camera that lives in the public sector and photographs every car, every person. Dare we use Flock as an example of what can go wrong when your surveillance equipment can fall into the wrong hands, or has backdoors, or has security or configuration issues that allow people to take control of those feeds, that allow it to query the databases behind it. These things are everywhere now, and we've already seen them being used in warfare. Between nation states, we've seen this kind of telemetry be used, and we've seen abuses from law enforcement on this. And that's just one aspect of it. Like, a legitimate user could become essentially a threat actor if they're using the technology outside of policies and guidelines in ethics. But also, this technology falling in the hands of a threat actor, there's a lot of bad things that can result from this. Backdoors are bad.
yeah, backdoors are bad, and it's like, why are your cameras? Okay, I will ask this question to everybody who has a surveillance network, legitimate or not legitimate. I'm not judging.
Yeah.
But if you have it, why the hell are your cameras visible to the internet and have visibilities into the internet?
Agreed.
Both ends. How the hell can somebody reach your cameras, and why the hell can your cameras reach anyone? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
And there's so many.
Firewalls exist for a while.
We talk about BMCs. There was an article about PLCs that this week as well, and we find them on the internet. Things like cameras, they all fall in this bucket. And it's a great point, Vlad. Why aren't we applying technologies that we already know work that would increase the security, decrease the visibility of them hanging on the internet, decrease your attack surface, your exposure, I should say. And these are not expensive technologies. They're not difficult to implement. Last night on the show, I proposed, why isn't the U.S. government buying in bulk licenses from Cloudflare, Tailscale, other providers that provide these awesome VPN technologies that I think provide you a better level of security than actually having to maintain a device on your own. Why aren't they providing this to critical infrastructure, right? Why aren't they providing this to water facilities? Why aren't they providing this to cities, states, and towns that have this surveillance equipment that does help? I mean, if one of your loved ones is kidnapped, you want this surveillance technology to be used to, help stop, prevent, and curtail crime. And it can't fall in the wrong hands. And along those lines, you need to protect it properly. And we don't need some new innovative thing. That technology exists. You can just go buy it from Cloudflare or Tailscale. You can buy it. I don't know. That's where I fall on that. Why is stuff exposed to the internet?
So, the problem is, why the hell do you, why don't you have a VPN? without even Tailscale, make an open VPN box, which gates access to all of this stuff. Right?
Yep.
So, like, imagine that instead of exposing web UIs for different tools, you just put a VPN box and connect through that. Suddenly, your entire network is much more secure, and it's not that complicated to do for a water facility. Like, let's say you have a whole friggin' factory. Put in 3 VPN boxes for redundancy so that you can access from the outside. Install OpenVPN or WireGuard on them. It's not gonna cost you much. And these boxes can be Raspberry Pis if you don't have a lot of budget. So you don't
I've
need
done
a
that before.
super mega server to actually run those with like mega power supply. You have redundancy through like quantity of them. And suddenly your facility is no longer exposed to the internet. And like it's not a like you don't need a mega super researcher specialist to do this safely. You just get an admin and task him for like 3 days.
Yeah.
Like, okay, there are systems depending on this, so maybe not 3 days, like give him a month. And admin will solve this task. And it's not gonna cost you a lot. Like get a guy who is ready to do a side gig for this. So you don't even need him full time. So and like a lot of people will take this as a side gig because like some people are patriotic and want to help their communities. Yeah, they'll get money for this. Sure, it's not pure altruism, but they will be ready to do a side gig without expectation of long-term contract. So you can totally do this. Not gonna cost you much, but it is gonna save you from like later problems.
Agreed. I think that's all we had this week. Want to just remind our listeners to check out all of our previous episodes. clipsame.com/podcast has all of those, including all the transcripts. Make sure you check out infra-trust.org is our website that helps you identify, search, and sort vendor advisories that relate to infrastructure in your environments. Make sure you go check that out. Again, completely free, no registration, no gates. Yep. We're not asking anyone for any money. It's a free service to the community to help you get a handle on your security advisories for infrastructure, devices, and software and firmware. So, thanks everyone. Go ahead, Vlad.
Yeah, dare say developed with AI.
And yes, developed with AI.
Getting an API at some point.
Yes.
Not sure yet.
We'll. Thanks, Vlad. Thanks everyone for listening and watching. We'll see you next time.